Welcome back, everyone. Feels great to be back again. Today, I'm joined by Jeffery, otherwise known as Coach Ben.
I do.
Now, Ben, you're a men's coach, as it were. That's what you call yourself, and that's like a big sort of pool to be in. So, what do you specify in that area of men's coaching?
Yeah. So right now, my current offer, what I help guys with, is porn.
Yeah.
Master of esteem retention is kind of what the coaching is based around, but I was thinking about it, really that's not what I do. Like, what I actually do is help guys become more fulfilled, more disciplined, more focused, and the means by which they do that is by breaking away from these habits, and porn being the specific one, in order to allow them to actually tap into, their masculine, their full potential. That's basically, that's what I do.
Yeah, I think especially going into like the porn straight away is a massive problem. People don't realize how big of a problem it is. Like me personally, I had a massive problem with it like a few years ago. And I would say it's only in the last year that I've full on cut everything. But like, man, it's hard. It's like an addiction. It is an addiction.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I always tell clients is like, when you look at the dopamine, it's like 150 picograms per milliliter, I think, of dopamine every time you watch porn.
Oh, okay.
But cocaine is about 450. So obviously they're not quite in the same bracket, but that's a third. That's a third of cocaine, and that's still beyond what the brain can naturally handle. So it does can cause a lot of issues.
Yeah, I think like the problem I found with me is it ruined my relationships with women, because like you see that and it's not real, and a lot of people don't understand that isn't real. Like that's not the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people attach themselves onto that thinking this is what they want, but it's not.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a weird one because I think I'm turning 23 in a month or two, but I got rid of this when I was about 17. I just had this light bulb moment when I was like, I was kind of in and out of doing NOFAP.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was trying to get the best of both worlds. I was trying to do this NOFAP thing and try and like improve my life. And then at the same time, I was slipping back into it. And I just had this moment where I thought, this just cannot have anything to do with my life. There's no place for it. It just can't do it. And as soon as I got rid of that, I just haven't looked back since, So for me, it's a little bit of an alien concept, even though I coach guys on it.
Yeah.
I haven't, dabbled with that in so long, so that's it's an interesting one. But in terms of relationships, yeah, it definitely, it has a massive impact. And I think there's reasons for that. Like, one of them is you're kind of cheating in a weird way. You are in a way. Secondly, you're losing all your, every time you give yourself to these videos, you have nothing left to give to your partner.
Yeah.
That's another factor. And yeah, just overall, and I think it's hard. I think as well, like if you can, I've had clients who are in relationships, and when they cut the porn out, their partners are way more like just open, receptive. Even like on, in terms of like a sexual way, they're more receptive, etc. So I think that maybe on a subconscious level, there's like a lack of respect from your woman. Like, she doesn't quite respect you because she knows that you're. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They know they're not stupid.
Yeah, they're not very intuitive creatures.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the problem is nowadays it's so accessible for people like which are real young and shouldn't even be like subjecting their minds to that. Like, you hear stories of like 14, 15-year-olds like getting introduced to it, and at that age your mind is so impressionable. Then that's going to be their reality coming up 18, 20 or whatever it is. Now, I think, what is your opinion on OnlyFans?
Okay, cool. To be completely honest, again, I like, if you said OnlyFans, all I know is the name. All I know that there's girls that basically make, not all of them, but it's quote unquote for some quite lucrative. And what actually is OnlyFans, I don't even know, to be completely honest, because again, I'm not interested. But my thoughts on it are, I mean, I've seen like women that have been on podcasts and they make good money and they can pay for their kids. So I can understand to a degree why some of them have a motivation to do it. Like, I think there are somewhat good intentions, but it's like the saying, like the path of evil is paved with good intentions. You know what I mean? So I think it's also, I mean, yeah, I think it's down. I don't know. It's just part of broken society, I think. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much thoughts on it. I just think it's completely degenerate, to be completely honest.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good way of looking at it. You kind of like
Not giving
blanked
it,
it out.
not giving it the weight, you know, not giving it the attention that it wants, kind of.
Yeah. I think again that's the problem with like the porn industry and the OnlyFans industry. They're kind of the same, but it's driven by men.
Yeah.
Like if men sort of just didn't watch it at all, the industry would be nowhere near of what it is today. But then in advertising, you always hear the saying like sex sells, and it's just everywhere around you. Not even so you don't need to go onto a porn site to see it. You see like in films, TV shows, advertising, things like that. So it's pretty hard to escape from it. So with your clients, what do you do to sort of give them the tools to then?
Yeah. So usually with my clients, these guys, they come to me, right? I'm not like they've already worked out this is an issue. They want to solve this, and then they come to me, and then we work on over a period of time. Sometimes it's 6 weeks, sometimes it's longer. It could be 3 months, and then we work on different things like changing your mindset. Just a lot of when it comes to the whole NoFap semen retention thing, the biggest mistake is like just guys have the most warped mindset. They just see it as this like game where if they fail, they're back to zero, and it's like they give up and they kind of just lose hope, or they don't have the right kind of, they haven't set themselves up properly to actually break free from the addiction. So yeah, there's that element to it. Then helping them whilst working together. It's all about what's your purpose. What's the bigger vision for yourself. Because really we all have not everyone has it, but the guys I work with, they have this like magnet or an internal compass they don't need to be taught it, but they know what they're doing is bad. Like something in them is like, what are you doing? And they're kind of just listening to that little voice inside, and it's pulling them in the direction to be better. And that's kind of what the whole coaching is about, is just tapping into that and bringing it out, tapping into your actual potential, because this is the thing that is genuinely stopping you. And yeah, the transformation is crazy. Like once you eliminate this, it's kind of no going back. You just hit a different kind of level. You just become a different kind of person. I think a lot of people discredit the whole NoFap thing, but I think you know a tree by its fruits. So look at people that watch porn in their life, and then look at people that don't, and compare the two, and then decide whether or not you think you think which side you want to be on. No,
it's definitely it's like a new world, almost like a better place to be mentally and physically as well. Like yourself, you go to the gym, and I remember like when I was into all like watching porn and all that shit, and then you go to the gym, it was just shit. It was so bad. You were just lethargic. You didn't really like have the motivation to do anything, and you like, for me, I like felt weaker. So yeah, it's like a whole new ball game once you sort of give that up. Now with like other toxic traits, what do you sort of deal with as well? Because it's like toxic habits, should I say?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. In a lot of cases, this is the only thing that's kind of a lot of these guys, they don't drink, they don't smoke. Do you know what I mean? This is the one thing, and I think the reason for that is like drinking. People in society will be like, oh yeah, like you don't drink, that's great, or you don't smoke, or it's like a well-known thing that's frowned upon. But where in a conversation do people say, oh, do you watch porn? Like, is that in the mix? And it's not, because it's taboo, it's private. It's a personal thing, right? But it's equally as detrimental as those other vices. And I think that's the problem. And like society, as you said, is quite okay and quite happy. Like you said, sex sells. There's a motive behind guys being hooked on this stuff. It's creating money, it's building industries, blah, blah, blah. Like, so that's kind of why, that's kind of why it's not really like addressed.
Yeah. So what kind of like age group are like the guys coming to you? Sort of like
majority of them are like 18. I say my demographic is probably 18 to 20, like 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like 18 is like real good to be like wanting to change.
Yeah, definitely.
Like how
the younger the better. Like obviously, and it's kind of scary to think guys take this from just when they start hitting puberty and becoming a man, so to say, from that age, and some of them take it all through their 20s, you know, and it's kind of like, in a way, it's a bit sad. It's like, it'd be great to the earlier you can get rid of it, the better.
Yeah. Because as like going back to what you're saying, like you started to get rid of it at like 17, 18. So what were you doing like in life, really? Like, where was your life heading, like in that period where you're like, I just got to get rid of this shit?
Yeah, I mean, so bear in mind, I was young, so it's like when you're young, your priorities aren't like that big. So for me, it was just not being confident, not like being respected by people, not being in the right friend groups, and just feeling kind of like awkward and timid and all these things. And I think I just got sick of it. Like, I just got to a point where I was like, I'm young, I should be enjoying my life. I shouldn't be feeling like crap. And I went on YouTube, I was just like, self-improvement, like I just watched some videos, and I just saw this video for like NOFAP, and I was like, what is that? And I just clicked on it, and it was like, oh my goodness, like this is it. Like, this is what has been, this is the thing that, do you know what I mean? It didn't even cross my mind that could be the reason why I was like feeling that way. And then it was literally that week, I just stopped for like a week or two, and things started to change, you know, in that very short space of time. And I clocked, I was like, I'm onto something here, you know, this is working. And then I just kind of fell in and out of it over the years, until like I said, I came to a conclusion where I was like, this just has to go completely. Yeah. And then the rest is kind of in the past. Yeah.
With me, like, it was never like cut off and like, this is it. It was kind of like I relapsed a few times, but then each time I was like, I ain't fucking doing this again. And then it happens, you're like, what the fuck's going on? And then eventually it's like weaned out of me. Yeah. And now it's just doesn't faze me.
Yeah, and that's the best way to go. Like, you can't expect to get in a boxing match and not get hit, you know? You just have to, I think that's why guys give up. They want a perfect, clean slate. I think, I did 30 days and then I messed up. And it's like, you did 30 days, mate. It's fucking great. Like, just do that again, you know? Do that again. And then over time, like you said, it just phases out. Like, the relapses just kind of phase out.
Yeah. You just get better, like more disciplined, willpower comes in.
It comes with time, you know? It's like anything in life, like trying to show up to the gym. If you miss one gym session, do you just stop going to the gym altogether? Like, no, you don't. You just go, okay, I missed one day. All that other progress still counts for something, you know? So that's probably like the big mindset shift there.
Yeah, I think it's like, especially with this current generation, they're very easily knocked and disheartened by a sort of minor setback. Like, from everyone who I've dealt with, they kind of like lack the grit, as it were, to just fucking crack on with things, like head down and work. And, you know, I employ some young people, like 17, 18, and you notice the difference from sort of my generation to them. Like, it's a lot of questioning things about hard work, and I'm trying to do a little bit like, oh, I'm not doing this kind of thing. Yeah. We've run into a few problems with younger staff, and say a little bit older staff as well.
In what sense? So like, they just don't put the work in. Like, you're catching them on their phone doing nothing type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem nowadays as well. Like, with all our staff, like I hold my hands up. Like, I'm in that. Like, but as I say, I've got emails and phone calls to make, so it's slightly different. But again, for people seeing that, I'm setting that precedent. Like, you can go on your phone at work. So it's a little bit like, I'm kind of to blame for the phone thing. But with the younger people, it's when I was at college and I knew what I wanted to do, I was like, I wanted to be a tree surgeon. I want to set my own business, and this the path I want to take. Like, I was driven. Like, I didn't care what had to be done. Like, I'm doing it. Like, no matter how shit it was, I'm in there. I'm in the trenches getting shit done. And nowadays, the younger ones, they just kind of want it easy. Like, I'm not really going to use my initiative. Just get told what to do, and kind of like they're floating through life, as it were. And again, that comes down to, like, with your clients, like, that internal compass, like, they know like where to go. It's just they're kind of a bit lost. So we find that like a big sort of, I'm not gonna say problem, but it's a big issue we've come across, like, employing younger people.
Why do you think that is then? You've worked it out?
I think it's the previous generation, so kind of like me and a little bit older, about how they're raising kids. I think a lot of today's problems fall back on the parents, like how they're being raised, like what they're being conditioned to. Like my household was not perfect. Like in some senses it was bad in some places, but for me I was kind of desensitized to a lot of stuff, but it made me like the person who I was today, and like incredibly driven. And I know people who have kids and just want to shut them up by giving them an iPad, and they're not learning like no, they're always given like a yes. So we're kind of like raising a culture of people that don't know what to do when they've been told no. So that's what I've seen personally.
Yeah, I think too, it's like I see the same thing. Like when you're watching things constantly, all you're doing is consuming, and that's like doesn't really do anything for you.
Yeah,
you're just a consumer. Whereas when you're creating, that's actually when the brain switches on and you start being like proactive and stuff.
Yeah. No, creativity is great, and a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not really creative. It's just like, have you like actually sat down and tried? We're all creative. It's just you got to sit down, like work out what you want in life, and sort of with your coaching, do you help sort of other men with like finding purpose or something like that?
That's interesting. Like I said, if you're, it's hard to explain, but like if the cup is full, like with the porn, if you have to tip all that out before you make space for something new to come in, if that makes sense. So as soon as you kind of eliminate this habit, because again, this habit too, people use it as a coping mechanism because their life is shit. Like they're not happy with their life.
Yeah.
Like they feel an internal sense of like unhappiness, unfulfillment. So they turn to this as a drug to get over it. But once you take that away completely, then you're sat there like, oh, well, now what do I do? Like, and after a while, maybe there's a few things you have to work through, emotional things you've been putting off. But once all that's healed, the dust has settled. That's when you get a clear, you can see clearly what's now, what's next. And then that's when those thoughts start coming up. Like, okay, I want to start a business. Okay, I want to pursue this. I want to pursue that. So it's kind of it kind of happens naturally.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. We all have different things we want to do, and why that is the case, who knows? Like, and that's unique to you. I think a lot of people these days they're doing things that aren't what they want, but what society wants of them, if that makes sense. They want the Lambo, they want the watch, they want all these things. And do you actually want that though? Like, what do you actually want? What do you actually enjoy?
Yeah.
And that once you actually find what that is and you kind of follow it, that's where you find true fulfillment.
It's like that Instagram sort of mentality where everyone goes on the gram and they like see like people out partying on the yachts and like driving around in Lambos. And I used to work with a guy actually who got like severe depression because he wasn't there.
Right.
It like partying, like driving Lambos around, like he was like real depressed because the shit he was looking at on Instagram. And like we've all fallen into that trap. I don't know if you have, but I certainly have.
100%,
like like I want in a Ferrari driving around, and the older you get and the more you work on yourself, the more you realize like this isn't actually what I want. Like I want peace, but also I want to train to be the best version of myself and follow avenues which actually hold purpose in my life. So what for Ben Jeffery is the purpose, and what is sort of the future holding?
What for myself?
Yes.
It's a good question. I think for me, what I've realized about myself is I get a lot of joy out of helping people progress. I think I'm quite good at, I just seem to have an ability to mentor people and rub off well on them.
Yeah.
So that's an asset I have, and that's something I enjoy and that gives back. So I don't know if you ever heard of Ikigai.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's like the Japanese concept of like reason for being. So if you look at the three, they're sort of what do you call it, like a Venn diagram or something.
Yeah, it's like the circles, they all blend into each other.
So I was like thinking about like, what could I do, that fits all of those, like, your purpose, your mission, your vocation, and something like that, your passion, or something like what you love. Like basically it's all those things together.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I know it's coaching for sure. And will that evolve potentially? Right now it's the NOFAP stuff, because I think there's a big, there's like endless people that need that help,
Yeah, as I say, it's not like very big, like a big space.
Yeah, it's quite new.
You're the first person I've seen like who's actually like specialized in coaching that. Like I've always seen like masculine coaches and stuff like that, and mindset, but I've never seen like NOFAP, like specialist coaches. So obviously it's been around for a while, like the problem, but would you say it's now more people like yourself are coming out and sort of creating these?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not massively into like, oh, these are my competitors in the industry.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that concept. I believe in we're all on the same team. Like,
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, that mindset would just that defeats the whole purpose of why you're even doing what you're doing. So, but yeah, I've noticed that there are definitely more people. I think it's just the age of internet, like entrepreneurship, and
Yeah.
you just create an offer and you just build you market and then you sell, and like people just naturally think, oh, okay, this is a good thing that people need help with. So
how do you market yourself out there? Is it just on Instagram?
Yeah, mainly Instagram. I mean, at one point I was like not big, but TikTok was popping off and I was sort of like in the limelight there. But now I stick more to Instagram.
Yeah. What's the reason for that? Is it like a different sort of demographic of people?
Yeah, I think there is definitely a better demographic, and you can engage with your audience much better. Like they can see your stories, you can DM them, you can communicate with them, and I think you do attract more of a mature audience. Whereas something like TikTok, it's like, I mean, I went on it for 30 seconds the other day, and I was like, okay, this is what's wrong with the world. I was like, this is just crazy. Like, like someone's just stood there like putting elastic bands on a watermelon, and it's like everyone sat there watching, waiting for this watermelon to explode. And I'm like, surely, like you do realize you're not on this earth for forever, right? You do realize you're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to look back on my life and think, oh yeah, I spent my time watching watermelons explode. Do you know what I mean? So TikTok, I'm not too fussed about it. I don't think there's much point like putting energy into it, so I just stick to Instagram. But
it's like it's a big hole to fall down with TikTok.
Yeah,
like you just find yourself like, I'll go on for a minute, and then it's like half an hour, you're like, oh shit. So it's definitely easy to get sucked into the TikTok space.
I was saying as well, it seems like, I don't know about you if you would agree with this, but for me it seemed like 2019 was like the last like good year, and I know COVID was just after that, but if you bear in mind, TikTok came out literally in 2020 when everyone was in the lockdowns. And like, do you think that was kind of premeditated in a way? Because I don't know.
It could be
a way to just keep people just like sat on their phones.
Yeah. I mean, when everyone was in lockdown, it was just easy entertainment. Like everyone just sat on their phone for hours. No one did much. Spent their furlough money on shit and sat inside. I can't remember too much of 2019. Like everything's just a big blur for me. It was like we could still work, so nothing too much changed. Like for us, we were still going out to work every day. So we were just making. The only difference was the amount of money we made was crazy.
Because you could still work.
Yeah. And crazy. The demand, because everyone was at home, and they had furlough money, they were just spending it on the gardens, and business was exploded. Insane. Yeah. So like for us, it was slightly different to what a lot of other people experienced. But I can definitely see the reasoning behind that with TikTok coming out and then lockdown. Like everyone's just like, same with like computer games. Like I had a big problem with computer games. Like we play, and you're like, I'll play for an hour, and then the next thing is like 12 hours in, and you're like, oh, that's 12 hours of my life. I'm not getting back again.
Yeah. I was the same. I used to be a crazy gamer.
Yeah. And you eventually come to that realization, like there's more out there in life than sitting behind a TV screen or a computer screen playing the games, and especially with stuff like streaming as well. It's kind of, a lot of people see it like, do you know what, I can get paid like millions of pounds a year for sitting behind my screen, and the percentage of people who actually make it to that level it's like a handful.
But I think it's the same with OnlyFans. Like once you start getting paid for it, it's kind of once you build your whole life off it and your whole infrastructure of like everything, you pay your house, it's very hard then to, do you see what I mean? Like why would you walk away from that? Yeah, and it's probably the same with streaming. Like once you start making money, it's like, oh yeah, screw this. Well, I'm going to just do this, Yeah,
but then you kind of got the aspect of like selling your soul almost. And it's do you want to live your life like that, knowing that you sold out for a bit of money so you could live this life, but at what cost? Like selling your body and stuff like that. I don't know. I see like prostitution, like for people who are on real lows and they need something to survive, different compared to someone who just wants like, you know, £1 million a month because they want to live that life. And a lot of people don't really see that difference. Like on one hand, you see people struggling, and other people vanity. So
what are your thoughts on it then, the OnlyFans?
I think it's the same as gambling, and I think it should be treated the same as gambling. With gambling now, you have like gambling support, and you know you can set up an account and like write out, I'm going to spend this much money, and like it won't let you spend more than that. I think something like that should be introduced into OnlyFans. You know, you got like guys out there spending like their entire like savings on like some woman on a camera, and people can go down to real dark like depression because you know they've lost all this money. They think some woman on a camera is in love with them, and you know some people end up taking their lives over it. And the people doing it, they don't see that. Like they're not involved with any of that. They're just taking the money and providing the service. So I think a lot more regulation should be done on it. I'm not saying going to ban it because then you open up like a whole black market for something. But I think it should be a lot more regulated. I think the negative effects of it should be put out there a lot more. And yeah, I can't blame the women because it's money. I blame more the men for, you know, giving them all the money because they're going to keep doing it as long as we give them money. Why are they going to stop?
Yeah.
So I think it should be the same as gambling with like like you can set restrictions if you know you're like got an addictive personality or you struggle with porn. You can set a limit.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I think there was a whole thing about on the news, like they should ban porn, and I was like, that will never work. Like that doesn't solve the actual problem. You know, guys are still going to find a way to get that porn. And that's the thing. If you ban porn, God knows, it could make things worse. You know, really, the real solution is like why, you know, it's same with like people that shoplift. Like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do this. Yeah, but why are these young people like shoplifting? What is it like? Their life is that bad that the only enjoyment they get is to go and steal from a shop. Like that's a that's not their fault. That's society's fault. You know, society's fundamentally failed.
Yeah. A lot of people just need to go back to the actual cause of the problem.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Like I've always been quite like idealistic. I think I've only realised that, you know, that I need to chill out and like stop projecting my idealism onto other people.
Yeah.
And I've realised like, yeah, you know what? This world is not. I can't change the world. You know, I can't. Let's just. To a degree, I can influence it, but I can't. You know, I couldn't completely make things the way they want to be. But you can change the world for one person, and that's where it's important, I think. You know?
Yeah. I have like a saying, like if you want to change the world, start by changing the people around you for the better.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just want they aim big and they just ignore everyone else. And they're like, right, I want to be up here, and then everyone else around them like, nah, and then I want to be on the big stages. It's just like helping like random people around you. That like gives me fulfillment. Like, you know, like a general act of kindness for someone random is very fulfilling, and a lot of people out there should give it a go. And I think if a lot of people gave that same philosophy a go, like the world's not ever going to be perfect, but it'll be a lot better than what it is now. So the world is a pretty messed up place.
Yeah, and it will always be that way because that's. I mean, again, like it depends how deep you want to go with it, but that's kind of what they want. You know, they want a degenerate society for a reason. You know, like you mentioned, it comes down to the parents. Well, like it's pretty obvious that there's some sort of agenda going on to kind of disrupt the family unit and destroy that. That's something I clocked onto probably when I was about 18, 19. I was like. Because I used to think, I don't want to get married. Like, never going to get married, just going to, like, fuck bitches. Like, that literally was my whole mindset. And very quickly, like, I got slapped in the face. God was like, no, mate, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, wow. But not everyone gets the blessing of that realization. But society pushes you in that direction, you know? But then when you figure that out, it's kind of, sometimes, some cases, it's too late, you know?
Yeah. Especially, like, now, obviously, as we're evolving down the line, like, you know, you got both parents having to work now because everything's so expensive.
Yeah, literally, it's crazy.
You know, if you got a kid, like, who's looking after the kid if everyone's like at work, the school? And
that child misses the fundamental things they need from their parents.
Yeah.
it's just a mess. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go down the rabbit hole of like, the school's pretty corrupt in some ways. Like,
I mean,
teaching
to
their
be
own.
honest, I mean, again, I'm very idealistic. So, but I like to think that when I have my own children, they won't be going to a public school. No way. Because, it just seems kind of stupid. Like, why would you let these people educate your kids, especially with the stuff they're preaching these days? And I just don't want anything to do with that.
Will they be like homeschooled?
It just depends on my future wife. Like, we'll have to have that conversation, but that would be on the cards for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, oh, but they need to socialize, and it's like they can still socialize.
Yeah.
What do you mean they need to socialize? Majority of the time you're in school anyway. You're sat at a classroom. You're not allowed to talk to anyone. Do this, do that. You get an hour, maybe 2 hours, and that's it. You go home. So what you're telling me? All I need to do is give my kids 2, maybe 3 hours of socializing a day, and I've beaten them being in school. And also, like, one of the things that I realized is what I've realized, because now I've obviously got my own business, and like when you have these realizations, you're like, school is literally designed to make you someone who works a job. That's all they want to do. They don't teach you anything about money, taxes, nothing. Like, they just want you to work your little job, do what you're told. And school falls so similar to like a 9 to 5 or some sort of career. And like, if you look at people that get degrees, like you can't get rich getting a degree. I know it's like an Andrew Tate concept, but it's just true. Like, and the richest people, if you look at this fight this weekend, like the KSI Tommy Fury, like all this stuff is just created out of thin air. None of these guys have, do you know what I mean? They've just made this up, and like they're making millions off it. And it's like, you could even say that we're in a freaking simulation. Like, you could go as far to say that. Like, it's crazy.
It is crazy. Who do you think is going to
win? Tommy, 100%.
Yeah.
I think. Well, actually, I was watching some footage. I think KSI, if he gets an overhand right, he could maybe do something. But other than that, from what I've seen of KSI, he's just not as good of a boxer. Tommy's like way more experienced. Yeah,
I mean, again, if you look at Tommy's been boxing since a real young age, and like KSI's been a YouTuber.
Yeah, I think that's a factor you can't ignore. You can't ignore someone's experience. Like, it's built in their DNA. Like, do you know what I mean? You can't. That's time and energy that you can't just snap your fingers and get. And it's like, who's even training KSI? I know he's sparring like pros or whatever he's going on about, but if you've got like the Fury family who've produced the heavyweight champion of the world coaching you, like I don't know. I just think I respect his confidence, KSI, but I do think he's in over his head.
We're kind of like merging now, aren't we? Like sports, like the influencer boxing and real boxing. They're kind of like slowly coming in.
To be fair, I rate it. I think it's great because, well, like I said, all these things we talk about, like, oh, society is this, but mate, out of all the sports they picked freaking boxing. Like, you got to respect that, and they're getting in there and they're fighting, and that's the most primal and respect. It brings out respect, and you have to train. So I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely takes courage to step in the ring, no matter who you are. It does take some balls to get in there. Again, like, you have like real like boxing fanatics that are like, oh no, this is ruining boxing. But then on the other hand, it's bringing a lot more like new eyes to the sport. Yeah. So,
but I mean, at this stage though, like KSI and Tommy, they're technically both professional fighters. So it's not even. I think when it was early days and it was like just people scrapping and like not really actual boxing, it was like, okay, this is stupid. But now it's a lot more serious. So
I mean, the money they're making as well is like, it's crazy.
It's ridiculous. Isn't it?
It's crazy. Like, again, like you got like Jake Paul and stuff like that, like making stupid amounts of money from like one boxing fight, like boxing Nate Diaz or something like
that. I mean, to me, that's stupid. Like, you want to be a boxer and you're fighting MMA guys. It doesn't make sense. Like,
has he actually fought a boxer yet?
He fought Tommy. Tommy's.
Oh yeah. No,
but then he lost.
Yeah.
This is the whole point. It's like, okay, mate, yeah. But Jake's, from what I've seen, Jake's actually quite good. Yeah. Out of all of them, probably it's Tommy, Jake, and then
I'd say out of the influencers, I'd say Jake's probably the best of them. I wouldn't really call Tommy. He's kind of like an influencer, but he is already a boxer.
Just went on Love Island.
Yeah.
He's like part of the Fury family. But no, he's a good guy. I like him a lot. I think he's down to earth guy.
Yeah, he's pretty real.
He's he's like married, young, and he's got a kid. And it's unusual, for young people to do that. So he sets a good example.
Yeah. Again, like a lot of people nowadays, they're not having kids because they want to pursue their career, and especially like with women, they want to pursue their career to the point where they get to like 40 and they're like, oh, well, I'm getting a bit too old now to have kids, and they're like, maybe I should have had kids. So again, that's society pushing that kind of life, like I'm gonna say like the feminist kind of like movement, as it were, like, you know, like we can do what men can do, but why can't we just all do something together, you know, like build a family?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Like, it's hard these days to find a girl that's not somewhat corrupted by that whole concept. I think what I've noticed is like girls that are from different cultures tend to not. I think it's quite Western, English, American women subscribe to the feminist thing, but
Yeah. I mean, so my girlfriend is like, she's like all for like the feminist thing, but she's very much
feminine.
but she's very much traditional values as well. Like, you know, she wants a family, she wants kids and things like that, and it's not like I'm not going out there to like prove men wrong and shit like that.
I think it's you can't help but get behind, you know, people being treated equally, 100%, 100%. But and that's what I think a lot of people get wrong is like when you dismiss feminism, they think that means you're sexist, but that's not the case. Like what we're proposing is putting way more strain on us. We're proposing we actually take care of you. Yeah. And we look like, you know what I mean? We do double the work so that you don't have to. That's what I'm saying by like get rid of feminism. But yeah, I mean,
men are just the same.
It masculinizes you too. Like if you're like the breadwinner, I think that's a big statistic too. Is if the woman earns more than the man, the likelihood of divorce increases like
really
a lot. Yeah. So, and it I don't know. There's something masculine about making money. Like it just, you know what I mean? If you go on a date with a girl and you split the bill, like you don't, you're just a wet wipe. You know, that's not what you want.
So, I think the last bit would be, what would be your sort of like, if you had to give someone a book, like a guidebook on quitting porn or becoming a better man, what would be sort of like 2 or 3 of the main lines in that book?
Okay, cool. Probably view it as if it's a marathon, not a sprint. View it like you're trying to climb up a mountain, and every single day every single day that you stay away from it is a win. It's one step up that mountain. If you relapse, you make a mistake, it's just like, it's like you tripped up, you know, you fell over, you're still on your way to that goal, and that's it. You just got to keep winning. You know, win the day, you win all the days, you win the week, you win the month, and just do that over a period of time. Don't get disheartened if you make a mistake, and just keep that goal in your mind. That's the first thing. Don't have that mindset of like, if you relapse, you're back to zero and all this stuff. It's demoralizing. And yeah, like, have that reason why, you know, the reason why you want to do it. Keep that in your mind. And just align your life to that person. Ask yourself, what does that person do? Like, does he do these acts? You know, it's almost like you want to raise that standard for yourself. Because a standard is like what you're willing to accept. And if you're willing to accept porn as a part of your life, that means your standard's here. Or as soon as you decide, I'm not willing to accept that anymore, you raise your standard for yourself. But it takes a long time for this to catch up with this. And it's always going to try and pull you back down. So it will take 60, 90 days of just concentrating, focusing, you know, and doing things that are in alignment with that person you're trying to become. And eventually over time, that will just become your default. You know, this person who just doesn't look at these videos, who's focused, who's doing, you know, on his path, becoming the best version of who he is. That's just who you are every day when you wake up, you know, and you're not feeling that pull back down. And that takes time. But yeah, it's a slow process, and you just have to be consistent.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Ben.
Cool. Thank you.